Shalom, brothers and sisters. Today we are going to get the knowledge of Parashat B'Shallach, that is crossing the sea, becoming a people and learning to sing. Beloved, today we stand with Israel at the edge of a vast and trembling mystery. Reading Parashat B'Shallach, which means when he sent them out. And on the surface, it is a story of escape, slaves living an empire. But beneath the parchment lies a deeper story. That is the birth of a people, the shaping of souls, and the first great hymn sung on earth after a nation witnessed God break open the sea. This parashat is a tale of thresholds, where fear becomes faith, where waters becomes walls, and where people who have survived become a people who can sing. Number one, when God sends out. Exodus chapter 13 verse 17 says, "And it happened when Pharaoh sent the people out." The word Beshalach comes from Shalach, which means to send, release, and loosen. Pharaoh thinks he's driving them out, but sages say that God was the one loosening the tether. Let's look at in the depth about Anoki. That means I, or I myself. The first word that opens heaven when the Holy One begins the Aseret Ha-Dibroth with Anoki. It is not merely a divine introduction. The word Anoki is like a gate made of living letters, and each letter is rung up as a ladder reaching downwards and upwards at the same time, drawing heaven into the world and the world back to heaven. A quiet current runs beneath this word, as if creation itself leans closer to listen. And below is a deep layered Hebraic Sod-level expounding of this beautiful paragraph. I will unfold each phrase, each letter, and its spiritual current exactly in the spirit of our style and teaching ministry. Letter by letter, the code within the word. Aleph, the hidden source. Aleph is silence shaped as a letter. It whispers of Yam Suf, the ungraspable wellspring before beginning ever began. Aleph stands unspoken, yet everything flows from it. In Anoki, Aleph signals the one who speaks is beyond speech, yet chooses to speak. The next word, Noon, it is descent into the human realm. Noon bends downward, almost bowing, and the sages see in Noon the movement of divine compassion lowering itself and the infinite stepping into the finite. Here the Creator stoops towards creation, touching the human heart without shattering it. The next word is kaf, the palm that embraces. Kaf is shaped like a cupped hand, suggesting containment, protection, and shelter. This is a moment where God is not only descending but embracing, making room within our narrowness for His endlessness. The last word, yod, the point of returning. Yod is the smallest letter, nothing more than a spark, yet the spark hums with ascent. It is the human soul lifting face upward, again pulled towards the one who first descended. The cycle closes here. The journey completes. Creation breathes. Let's look at the Sod-level mystery. What it really signals. God gives His very self, not merely laws. Though Zohar says, Anoki is the sefer for I myself have written and given myself. The Torah is not information. It is the divine essence made readable. Number 2, revelation always starts with descent. Aleph, Nun, and Kaf. And Yod is the map. And the source, lowering, holding, and lifting. God meets humanity in its dust, then raises it back towards its origin. Number 3, the first word set the spiritual architecture of the entire covenant. It begins with God reaching for us, not us reaching for Him. The entire Torah is an echo of this movement. And the Zoharic view that we get, life bending through 4 letters. In the Zohar, Anoki is described as a lamp poured into a vessel. Aleph is the supernal crown where all lights originates. Nun is the channel through which light flows. Kaf is the vessel that receives and shapes that flow. And Yod is the spark that awakens the inner soul of each listener. Thus at Sinai, the divine light did not merely speak, it became inscribed inside each heart. Let's look at the practical application where this word touches daily life. Number 1, God comes towards us before we attempt to go towards Him. Every prayer begins because Aleph already whispered into us. And our struggle do not repel God. They invite His descent, that is Nun. Wherever we bend under weight, He bends beside us. Number 3, we are held even in unseen places. The one who spoke Anoki does not release his grip. Every act of faith is a Yod rising, a spark returning home. Even the smallest prayer trembles upward. Sod-level. We look into the Sod-level. In Kabbalah, sending is not merely dismissal. It is a transition from constriction, from din, that is judgment, to expansion, that is love. Heaven orchestrates release when the soul has outgrown the place of bondage. How do we apply it? When God lets something end, we do not have to cling to the old room. The closing door is often a divine push into the water, into the wider assignment. Number 2, living Mitzrayim, that is the narrow place, which is Egypt. Though it is a geographical nation, Hebrew whispers another meaning. Metzah, a narrow place, a tight boundary, a mystery. And the mystery that we get here is that Egypt is not just a location, it is a spiritual condition. It is the tightening of hope, the shrinking of vision, and the constriction of identity. And in the Zoharic teaching, the Zohar says Egypt represents the kelipoth, the shell that traps spiritual light. Each plague shattered a shell. Each step out was a step into spiritual oxygen. And the application here is, we need to name our Egypts. Ask the Spirit of God, where am I thinking small? Where am I trapped in patterns? We cannot cross the sea until we acknowledge the chains. Number 3, trapped between sword and sea. Exodus chapter 14 verse 10 says, Israel looked back and fear rises like dust from Pharaoh's chariots. Let's note the irony. After 10 plagues, after God has rewritten nature, Israel sees one dust cloud and panics. And the deeper revelation we get here is that fear often resurrects defeated enemies in the mind. Now let's look at the key words. Kerev, that is sword. Ruach, that is the wind of the Spirit. And the Spirit must become greater than the sword. We apply it when fear tightens our chest, breath, and we need to remember the Spirit. The enemy behind us is not as real as the Redeemer before us. Number 4, the sea of Rid. This, that is Yam Suf. This is more than geography. It is symbolism. In Hebrew, Yam means sea and Suf means reed, ending or boundary. It is the place where old identity ends and new identity begins. And in the Zoharic and Sod understanding, we get that the sea is described as the border between worlds. Choosing the Yam Suf is crossing a cosmic birth canal. Israel is not escaping, it is being born. And in Midrash, we see when Israel stepped into the waters, the sea saw the coffin of Yusuf, the righteous one whose bones were carried, and the sea recognized righteousness and parted. How do we apply it? Our sea is any transition that requires us to walk before we see the miracle. Faith requires a wet ankle before it receives a dry path. Number 5, Moshe's staff and God's wind. Exodus 14:21. God drove back the sea with the east wind. And the mystery here is that the miracle is divine, yet God commands Moses to lift his staff. Heaven and earth cooperate. And the Zoharic image we get is that Moses is the human conduit. When he lifts his staff, the spiritual channels open. When he raises his hands, the heavenly circuit completes. Human obedience becomes the key that unlocks divine intervention. How do we apply it to our life? Do the small things God asks us, even when it feels symbolic. Act in the natural, and God will act in the supernatural. Number 6, the Song of the Sea, Shirat HaYam. Exodus 15:1. I will sing to the Lord, the first worship song recorded in scriptures, not whispered, not polite. It erupts like sunlight breaking into sound. And the Hebrew power here is shir, that is song. Shira is the feminine form, a continuing song. And Yeshua, salvation, deliverance. And in the Sod-level we get song is not entertainment. It is a spiritual architecture. In Kabbalah, music is a vessel that carries divine influx, that is Sefer. When Israel sings, they are sealing the miracle into reality. And the revelation that we get here is that the song is a stamp that keeps salvation from fading. So we need to apply it by praising after victory. And it is not optional. It is obedience. When God delivers us, sing, speak, testify. Write it, record it, and tell your children. Number 7, Miriam, the prophetess of the sea. Exodus 15:20. And Miriam, the prophetess, took, and she takes the tof, that is tambourine, and leads the women. And in the Zoharic treasure we get the sages teach that Miriam carried tambourines through the desert because the women expected God to deliver. Faith prepared instruments before deliverance come. Miriam is linked to the feminine waters of Bina, that is the womb of understanding. She perceives redemption the moment it appears. And the application we need to do here is expect miracles, prepare our instruments before the breakthrough, honor the prophetic voices, especially those who feel God's move first. And number 8, the bitter waters that turn sweet in the pool of Mara. Exodus 15:23-25. The waters are bitter. God shows Moses a tree. He throws it into it and it becomes sweet. The mystery here that we get is that bitterness becomes sweetness through obedience. In Kabbalah, this is the Hamtalkat Ha-Dimim, the sweetening of judgment. And the application here is do not throw away bitter experiences. Place the tree of obedience and trust into them, and God can transform them into sources of healing. Number 9, the bread from heaven, that is the manna. In Exodus 16:4, bread from heaven comes down. And in the Sod and Zoharic understanding, we get that the manna is described as food of angels, a substance shaped by each person's spiritual level. it tasted according to the heart. And we do need to apply it by getting the provision God gives us that has flavor in our hearts and is able, we have to be able to receive it. Purify our hearts and God's provision becomes sweeter. Number 10, that is the battle with Amalek. Exodus 17:11 to 12. When Moses' hands are up, Israel prevails. When they drop, Amalek prevails. And the mystery here is that Amalek in Hebrew has got the same numerical value as Safek, that is doubt. Amalek, the spirit of doubt. And in the Sod-level we find doubt attacks right after miracles. After the sea, after manna, Amalek comes, and it is the shadow that tries to erase testimony. How do we apply it? Guard our testimony. Raise our hands in worship. Let others hold our arms when we tire. And in the Haftarah connection, Judges 4 and 5, Deborah and Barak, another prophetess, another unlikely victory, another song with this pairing. Because victory becomes eternal only through song, and Deborah mirrors Miriam, Barak mirrors Moses. The patterns repeat: deliverance, songs, and identity. And we apply it by making testimony part of our culture. A silent church forgets miracle. A singing church survives Amalek. And 10, the Brit Hadasha connection. In 1 Corinthians 10, 1 and 2, Paul calls the Exodus crossing a baptism under the cloud through the sea, a people reborn. And Revelation 15:3 says, the redeemed in heaven sing Shir Moshe, the song of Moses. From Exodus to Revelation, the same melody carries history. And the 13th point, 3 final teaching that we get for our daily life. Crisis is the birthplace of calling. At the sea, Israel become people. Do not waste crisis. Ask, what identity is God birthing in me? Number 2, praise is a weapon, not decoration. Praise seals the miracle and frightens doubt. So we do not have to delay our song. Number 3, memory is survival. So in Zohar it says, forgetting undoes redemption. Remember, rehearse, record. Beloved, this Parashat invites us not merely to admire a miracle, but to enter its rhythm. Every life knows a Pharaoh. Every soul faces a sea. Every believer must choose whether to fear or to walk forward. And every deliverance carries a song waiting to be sung. May this week be our crossing from fear to faith, from bitterness to sweetness, from silence to praise. And may the God who split the sea split open our path. As we conclude, dear friends, if this message stirred your spirit or offered clarity for your journey, I invite you to stay connected. Please subscribe, like, and share this teaching so it can reach others who may need the same word of encouragement and revelation. Our engagement helps spread light farther than any single voice can travel. Thank you for walking with us today. May grace ripple outward towards every click and every share. Let's have the Hebraic blessings. May the Lord bless us and keep us. May the Lord make His face shine upon us. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon us and give us peace in Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Amen. How much it became?
25 minutes.
Oh,